Well, hi again, everybody. With Bob Lobel, I'm Mike Lynch, and here we are. This, as Bill Belichick would say, no days off. And when you're covering the Patriots, whether they're in the playoffs or not, there are no days off because you know what? This thing right here could ring and ping at any particular second. We'll get to our guests in 1 second, but remind you that UnAnchored Boston, as always, is brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping. And where? We're in New Hampshire, of course, and by the great George Gray, the big wheel we call him at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. Thrilled to have Mike Reiss back with us, and Bob Lobel always handles the intro. So, Robert, take it away.
Well, thanks, Mike Lynch. I always love to have Mike Reiss on. He's one of my personal favorites, and worked opposite his dad, Roy Reiss, at Channel 7 for a long time, and I have fond memories of Roy, and his told me one day, you ought to talk to my son sometime and get him on Sports Final. He really knows his stuff. I said, really? Okay. So we did. And the rest is history. And now he's at ESPN and has become, has a reputation, which is one thing we can't create ourselves, our own reputation of being one of the plugged in best football writers around. And that's quite a compliment considering there's a lot of great writers around, and most of them are centered in the football area right now. So not like we have enough to cover, but my initial question to you, Mike Reiss, is not one that you'd expect. My question is to you, if I wanted to find out first on who the Patriots are going to hire or no, or where Belichick's going to go, do I go to Peacock? Is that the first place I go? Because Peacock seems to be the bane of every football fan's existence right now, and I can't blame them.
Well, first of all, thanks for the great introduction. I was thinking about the first time I came on Sports Final, and I looked at how big those chairs were, and I said, you could probably fit 5 of me in one of these chairs. How am I supposed to sit in this chair and look normal? Like, why were the chairs so big, Bob?
I don't know. They were probably left over from Bob Kraft because he didn't use them to sit in a. No, you fit perfectly the first day you were on, and that's why it worked so well for you.
Lynchy, I would scoot up to like the edge of it, so my feet could hit the ground. It was like, I needed like a little stool, so my feet weren't sitting there dangling off of the chairs.
Obviously, we didn't buy them for the show, so they were left over from some other people are talking. Who knows?
I'm thinking Adam Schefter would be the answer, Lobie. Like Peacock, off to the side. They probably got what they accomplished to get those subscribers, right?
It's amazing, Mike, how that went down. And I don't know where you were at the time, or if you were home, if you were watching the game, but the sign off, Lynchy, did you see it? The guy absolutely said, the only place you're going to watch, he's on NBC now. He's on NBC now. He's saying, you saw it, right? The only place you're going to get this.
They kept it up for an extra 15 minutes till 8:30. So you could still, it was almost like a prize fight. So in case you want to.
There you go. Yeah. Talked to Upton Bell yesterday about this. He said, it's going to be like pay-per-view. It's going to be like watching a professional prize fight. You're going to have to, in 15 years, you're going to have to pay $25 to watch the Super Bowl. This is the direction it's going. So all these people on Facebook that complained, I said, go talk to Bob Kraft. He's the NFL. He's in charge of he's the head of the television committee. You think he didn't have to say this, wherewithal to say this about Peacock and understand where this is going? So anyway, this is a whole different conversation than I thought we might have had. So maybe I should just shut up and let you guys have a conversation. But I think Peacock was a huge event this weekend, and it was buried in the 2 games, by the way, which were the 4 games that were great, actually.
My thought on that is you have to make sure your product is strong enough that people are actually going to pay for it. I mean, I watch the game. We have Peacock at home as part of our cable bundle. But if I didn't and I paid for it and then I watched that game, I don't know, was it worth it? And so that's sort of, guys, that's how I view it now. Like, I'm really interested in the product of the NFL. Like, are the games competitive? Is the product as good as it once was? And so to me, there's a lot of layers to the conversation.
No,
I didn't think it was a great game. Did you?
no, it was not. But
No.
one of the reasons I wanted to tune in was to see how cold what the temperature factor was.
Yeah.
The wind chill. They kept.
You want to see this?
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, right. That too.
Going back and forth. That's what you tuned in for.
Maybe. But I'm just saying, what everybody had their own reasons, and yeah, I paid the $5. I'm not proud of it, but I had my reasons for doing it.
Lynchy, I know some people that didn't pay it,
Right.
because they felt like it crossed the line, like that they like someone texts me like feels too greedy, feels like it, and
You know
so
what?
willing to go out it.
It was too greedy.
But you know what? I just read somewhere it was the largest streamed product in the history of streaming, right? So you lose your argument because it's like the biggest streaming audience in the history of streaming.
Why do you think they tuned in? Because it was prime time on a Sunday night?
I would say that was probably going into the weekend was probably the most interesting matchup, and probably the one that I was more interested in, especially AFC people, to see the defending Super Bowl champs, 5-degree temperature, going against Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins, who have allegedly a good offensive team against teams with sub 500 records, not with winning records. But to me, that one, if I had to circle one of the 6 games, that would be the one that I would look at.
And stars sell, right?
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, Taylor Swift. We talked about it.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce.
Yeah. Hey.
True. Stars sell, and it's part of the product they were pushing. But greed was a big part of it. I don't care. I mean, I'm angry that I had to pay the $5 because I feel like they put a gun to my head in certain ways.
You know what I found out today? I found out I have JetBlue Mosaic status. If you're a Mosaic member, you get 12 months free Peacock. and I paid $2.99 for it. I want my $3 back.
But you only get 2 quarters?
No, if you have Xfinity, apparently it's only $2.99 for 12 months instead of $5.99.
You know what? The gun was loaded. Okay, what are you going to do?
No,
then I couldn't get on. Then I feel like I'm really stupid.
Well, yeah,
This whole stupidity factor comes in.
My mom is almost 92, and she watches every football game there is, and she didn't know how to get it, and I felt bad. But there's probably 100,000 people like my mother. They didn't know how to
have a granddaughter to come over and fix it.
How did that happen, Lynchy? Did she end up getting to watch it? I'm curious.
She might have gone to my sister's house to watch it,
Okay.
but it was just too complicated for her. And then I don't blame her.
Yep.
I mean, she would never think that you could sign up on your laptop or your phone. She's trying to figure out how to sign up on the television.
I recall Bob Kraft, the
they don't care. That's the thing. They don't
keeper
care.
of the franchise.
All right, let's go.
I like what Mike said. Oh, come on, Lobel, give him a break. I can see that. I can read your mind. I can see, come on, Lobel, you're really getting.
All right, so I brought up no days off, Mike Reiss, and the season ended, and then the Patriots were out of the playoffs, and in most years, you'd say, okay, I get a little breather, I can take the family away for a couple of days, and this and that. But you're like right now, you're on guard, you're on watch, you're on your toes 24/7, right?
So Lynchy, it was definitely that way last week because you're waiting to hear with Coach Belichick, is it going to happen Sunday night, Monday morning? You don't sleep well, and until that news came down, it was like pins and needles. Like, and you mentioned the phones, you're checking your phone. You're like, you love this story. Like Adam Schefter is like such a great teammate. We work together. And he said to me the other day, Mike, I haven't been able to take a shower because he didn't want to leave his phone.
I know.
And miss the story.
Yeah.
So that's the way you feel. And I say, like, now, Lynchy, like, now that news was settled, the coaching search, like, so this is another fun one. All my colleagues they were giving me the business. They said, Reiss, no complaining. This is your first coaching search in 24 years. So I don't want to hear any complaining from you. You're going to learn what life is like covering a coaching search. Finally, every 24 years, you get to live it. And I said, all right, I'll just zip it and I'll buckle up for the ride. So they announced Belichick parting ways Thursday. Friday morning, Mayo gets hired as head coach. All the same people are texting me back, said, I can't believe this. You lucky son of a gun. That's the shortest coaching search in the history of any reporter. And I said, I hope it's another 24 years.
It's another fascinating turn of and twist of all these events. First of all, when Belichick was hired, there were no cell phones. Now there's Peacock. Okay, so we've come a long way.
I don't want to hear Peacock again this whole show.
I know you're right. I promise.
The over-under on you saying Peacock the rest of the show is at 10 right now. And I'm taking the over.
Okay, I'll be good. I don't know whether to go to Dallas or whether to go to Mayo. I don't know whether to ask you about the Belichick sons, who today I read were welcome to stay. I don't know if that's internet, what's true and what's not true anymore. It just depends on where you read it. And I don't know what's true from untrue in this case, because the sports world's getting to be like the real world, false news.
It's tricky, Bob. I think on this one, the way I can answer it is, let me tell you what I believe to be true based on talking to people that I think would have the information.
Yes.
So the way this whole thing went down with Bill Belichick and the Crafts, I think it was important, particularly to the Crafts, that it was as amicable of an ending as possible. And let's be honest, they didn't see it the same way at the end, right? I mean, they can, and I commend them for what they did Thursday. I want to ask you guys your opinion of this, but let me just get to the answer and then I'll say it. So I think with that in mind, I do think that it's true that it has been extended to the Steve Belichick, linebackers coach, defensive play caller, and Brian Belichick, safeties coach, that just know that if you want to stay here, there's always a place for you here. And I believe that part of that was, one, Gerard Mayo is incredibly close with Steve Belichick. And number two, I think it's part of wanting to have good relations in a hard goodbye.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't think that's the main reason, Lynchy, but I do think that's part of it. And we'll see what the boys decide. They might not think it's a great decision. And so I do believe it to be true. And I just want to see what you guys think of this and check me on this and be honest and tell me if you think I'm too much Hollywood happy ending type stuff. Like, I thought Thursday with Belichick standing with Kraft, like I appreciated that they tried to do that, because it would have been easier to just email out statements. And I appreciated being able to look at them, listen to their tone and inflection, watch the way they looked at each other. And that couldn't have been easy for both of them. And I know I'm not trying to say like it's like an ending that they're both, okay with, and they mutual, like, I get it. It's tricky, but I just feel like in today's world where everything's so divisive and everyone's yelling at each other and no one talks to each other, no one stands next to each other if they don't think the same way, that it was actually sort of refreshing to me that they at least tried and did that. And I mean, what do you think? Am I too flowery on this?
The cynic in me said, we won't give you any problems with the 25 million if you come out for a nice photo opportunity, a nice warm and fuzzy. Let's all look good, and then we won't contest anything, and it'll be good. When Kraft tried to hug Belichick, and he sort of pulled away and said, "Oh, he's got a cold," that was an awkward moment for me. It was. Bill's not a touchy-feely guy anyway, but in this particular instance, I think Bill was saying, "All right, I'll come out, stand next to you, and shake your hand, but cut the crap with the hugs. I don't want any of them." That was my one thought. My second thought is that this decision was made probably a month ago in the season, because they said goodbye to Belichick on Thursday, and Friday morning at 8:00 or 8:30, bingo, there was Gerard Mayo.
Yeah.
So they had made their mind up, and the decision had been made, and they tied it all up. It looked nice, had a nice bow on it, and here we go with the Gerard Mayo regime. Meanwhile, you're probably going to have to live in Atlanta or Dallas for about a week, within the next week, because this guy wants to coach. And now it's a decision: do they want a 71-year-old guy, bring some credibility, or they want like a young, creative coach? That's the way I see it.
I like that, Lynchy, and I think that's fair. We're going to do the money. No problem with the money, but it's important to us that we have some closure here that everyone can see. I think that's what, right? That's what I'm hearing. And I think that's very realistic.
Would you like to hear the way it really was?
Yeah, let's hear it, Loie.
Kidding, Mike. Just kidding.
Well, what did you think of it, Bob? I'm genuinely interested, because I think,
I'd be a little more judgmental here. First of all, Belichick made a lot of money on Wednesday. Not only did he make his $25 million so-called in the contract, but he also made whatever he's going to be negotiating with the 6 other teams that are available. So whatever kind of a score he made, if you can add the new contract with the old contract, he made a lot of money on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever it was. That being said, I think there was a crisis management team behind it. And I can only say this, that if you're a crisis management person, and this was indeed an organizational crisis, a public relations crisis of the highest order, the greatest possible publicity, that you had to figure out what was in the best interest of both parties, and what was the best outcome, not only in presentation, but in interest. So, okay, shut up. No, it's not. I'm sorry, Bill. I'll call you back, Bill, all right?
That's Peacock, Bob. Peacock's calling.
I know.
They want if you want to go for the premium subscription.
They wanted a follow-up to see how you like the service.
You sucked, okay? All right. First of all, before the hug, before the kumbaya moment, okay, the parting of the ways, they were acting like children. They were like children in the room with no adults to answer to. So at some point, somebody had to come in saying, "You're acting like children. Where are the adults in the room? Were you guys going to stand up and bicker and argue? You're going to be adults and try to make this go away. You both have goals here. The goals may be different, but they're probably more similar than you think. So here's the best way to do it. Put on your best pretend faces. Do what you can do. Do what you tell your children to do in a situation like this, and do it. And then get the replacement in as fast as possible, so the old story goes away as fast as possible, and the new story is in, and Gerard Mayo is the new story. And you shift the attention from the old story, which I think worked. I think whatever was behind the scenes obviously worked. They got through a really difficult time as graciously as they possibly could. One guy wanted out, the other guy wanted him out, and they wanted reclaiming the team. That was kind of the best phrase that I've heard, that I think Kraft did a lot of work in reclaiming the team. They even They even went after the third Super Bowl. They even had the timeline of when they lost the team. And you know what? I just think some adults stood up and said, "We think this is the best possible way to go." So I'm not saying contrived is a bad thing. I'm saying, and sometimes doing what looks good is the way to go.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the reality of the situation. They may never speak together again. You know, they're not going to go to parties together, clearly.
I think, what are you going to say, Lynchy?
Next June, they're going to have to, is Bill going to show up for Tom
All right,
Brady?
okay, fair enough. But it'll be more the same. I think it'll be more the adults in the room. I agree, Mike. Does he come back for Brady?
And I understand that event's going to be on Peacock.
You said it. I didn't. You know what? If Kraft could get $5 a person, he'd do it. One thing that Upton told me yesterday when I talked to him, he says, you know, these owners, they don't love the game. They love being owners. They don't love the game. He said even Billy Sullivan, who hired me and fired me, loved the game. And he said it's all different today. You know, Loria in Philadelphia, maybe Jerry Jones, I don't know, but Kraft, they don't love the game. They love owning it, but not the game itself. I mean, how can you love the game and have 17 games and 18 and this many games and watch these guys go down like paper clips and on the field? I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're killing your product on the field. All right, shut up, Bob. I've talked too much here.
No, but Bob, I just want to follow up your point on that is, like the Giants ownership, George Mara back in the day. Like I think the owners of that generation, like they loved the game, and the decisions they made were about the essence of the game, or you know, like what is the best for the product that we put on the field. And I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm 48 years old, but when I talk to people that had connection with those owners of that generation, that's how they speak. I think now, I do think owners, some of them do care about the game, but they're driven as much more so about making money. And I think that's what you're getting at, Bob.
I think so. I mean, I think that's what I'm saying.
Peacock, a great example.
You know, but I think they have to be careful because they need some people in there that are stewards of the game, because my whole point on this Peacock thing is like the product might be getting watered down. And if it's not a good product, like if you know who's going to win the game before it's a
great point about if you want to pay $5, you better make sure it's a good game.
And what we're watching is good football, you know, like some of the Thursday game when the Raiders beat the Chargers, like that was awful on Amazon. That was like bad.
Yeah.
Right. And you're going to have some bad games, but so I've thought about the topic a lot.
No, that's really interesting. I think that's a really good point about the product, the quality of the product. I mean, you would have paid for the 2 games you saw yesterday.
Yes. I mean, yeah, the Packers.
The Packers, that was watchable, although it was not close.
They were playing at a really high level. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I would pay for that. I would pay for that.
Who were those guys?
In the green uniforms?
Yeah.
A team that's been playing
Aaron Rodgers felt when he was watching that.
Yeah. Yep.
That kid's pretty good. I don't care what you say. Those C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love would be unbelievable in a.
Why can't we get players like that, Bob? I'm stealing everything from you today. I'm stealing Peacock.
All right. I'm not saying that word anymore. You probably promised I wouldn't say it, and you're trying to bait me into it. I know you are.
Here's a crazy thing that ran. You know, things you lying in bed at night or whatever, something runs through your head. And with all due respect to Gerard Mayo, who I like as a person, and he seems to be doing a good job as an assistant coach, this to me is very similar to the Red Sox hiring Butch Hobson. He's one of the family, one of their own. Let's scoop him before somebody else does, even though he has no experience whatsoever at all. And to me, that's what I think we're looking at right here. Again, with all due respect, Mike Reiss.
Well, 37 years old. He's never done it, Lynchy. So there's a risk. I think that's how I view it. It's they're taking a risk to not even talk to anyone else.
Why did they not? What was the deal behind not? I know that, filing it with the league office to avoid the Rooney Rule. That just kind of destroys the whole concept of the Rooney Rule, doesn't it?
So it's interesting to me, Bob. I think the Rooney Rule, and I wish I had it in front of me, but I think the essence of that is to make sure that underrepresented people are given equal chance. And so I think when an underrepresented person is getting the job, they feel like that has met its requirement. You know what I mean? They don't need to go through it. I think where I would push back just from a Patriots standpoint is even if you're going to hire Gerard, it can still behoove you to go through the process. You might pick up ideas from other people. You might develop relationship with other people that if you're in the same situation 3-4 years from now, you have a foundation on which to work from. So I think that to me, more than the Rooney Rule, is a fair question to ask on the Patriots process in this case.
I thought that, right, it would have put other candidates that would not have normally been interviewed in play, not only for the Patriots, but for other teams. It would have elevated other people to where the Rooney Rule was intended to go. All right, that's my only question on that.
Yeah.
But Lynch might be right. It could be a Butch Hobson hire. Although I love the way Mayo responded to Karen Guregian when she asked him about how he felt when the story came out that he was rubbing people the wrong way in the locker room. I thought that was a really tough question to ask him, but he handled it perfectly.
Yep.
I mean, he really said, hey, maybe it is me. Maybe it is my fault. Do you think Belichick would have ever said that?
Yeah. So on the Mayo stuff, I think part of what is interesting to me is look around the league. Houston Texans, D'Amico Ryans, former player coming in there, first year, pretty successful. Dan Campbell in Detroit, former player, looks pretty good in Detroit right now. So I think how you connect with this generation of players, I think that's what they're looking at, Lynchy, and it might backfire on them. But that to me is when we think about the Butch Hobson analogy, I think that would be maybe their pushback. We think these players will run through a wall for them and that it's worth the risk. We'll see how it turns out. And I just want to correct myself on one thing. I was talking about ownership before with the old guard of owners and how they cared about the game. And I think I said George Mara, Wellington Mara is the name, the Giants. So I want to just check myself on that. I would say,
you don't want to get Dan Rooney in Pittsburgh.
I think you said Wellington. I think you did.
Okay. And Dan Rooney, yes.
You look at the Patriots right now. I mean, look at all these teams that played yesterday. Even in losing Dallas, the gap between the Patriots and these has got, 3 years ago was like this. 2 years, 4 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. The gap is so wide. I don't see that there are no playmakers, game breakers on the Patriots. I love Bill O'Brien, but if I see one more pass that travels 40 yards laterally for a 2-yard gain, I'm going to pull my hair out. Everything is vertical. And I watch these good teams, and everything with the Patriots is lateral, and it's just there's a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
And I'm not sure that George Halas, Don Shula, or Bill Belichick, if all three of them were on the same staff, that they could really close that gap within 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, that's a great point, Lynchy. And I have so much, you played. I have so much respect for your view of what you're seeing. I think Bill Belichick was heavily involved in the offense. So there's a part of me that, like, I don't want to pin it just on Bill O'Brien. Like, I think Bill Belichick was right in there with him, trying to, do some of the things you're talking about. I look at the Lions model as the one that they got to try to emulate. When Dan Campbell went in there, he was cleaning it up after the Matt Patricia, and I think slowly but surely they have one good draft, two good drafts, three good drafts, some free agent signings, and it took them some time, but look at them now, right? So I think, to me, a 2 to 3 year window is possible, but it's like, to think, like, I'm thinking next year, like, what would be my prediction right now for their record? Like 6-11 feels generous, right?
Yes, it does. Yes.
And I'm just trying to be honest, like, that's where they are right now. And so I agree with you.
I mean, they may lose all 6 division games next year. Just right off before we even look at the rest of the schedule.
Let's see who they draft here. Let's see who. Yeah. Let's not get crazy. I mean, all of a sudden I become an optimist here. It just takes one good draft pick, and maybe, but then again, okay, who are you going to put in front of them on the offensive line? Maybe it all starts there.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, you got a couple of examples in the league where a draft pick is pretty much elevated your team into contention. But so I got to see their schedule. I don't have it right in front of me over next year.
Yep.
Honestly, thought they'd win 5 games this year, and they won 4. But that was side the point. You know what? I just don't. I wouldn't quite give up just yet on. But I don't know who you'd take in the number 3 pick, whether it be Marvin Harrison or one of those 2 quarterbacks if he's available. I don't know. Or you take Jalen Hurts and trade. There are options out there.
Definitely. Lynchy, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. A couple of my thoughts is Harrison, the receiver. I actually love him. Like, to me, he's the sure thing, and so I wouldn't be against it. On the quarterbacks, it's so early. I can't wait to get into him and try to learn more about him. I got some unease about just everything around Caleb Williams. Like, it just seems like there's more than just what we're talking about on the field. Like, what is, I want to learn more about what makes him tick and like, what's this talk about wanting to own a team? Is that true? So to me, it's the other 2 quarterbacks, Drake May and Daniels out of LSU, that I want to study to think maybe those 2 would fit. But what are you thinking on what they might do there?
I'm thinking if Marvin Harrison's available, you got to take him, because he is the type of guy that we were looking at this weekend. He's a game changer. Despite the fact that CeeDee Lamb had a horrible game yesterday, he's a game changer. Yeah. Deebo Samuel is a game changer. Yeah. Stephon Diggs, a game changer. Tyreek Hill, a game changer. And all these teams went out and acquired these guys, and they need to acquire a guy like Marvin Harrison. If they have to go with the quarterback, I go with Drake May as my quarterback. I hate to be falling back into is he another Mac Jones? I don't know, but that would be my pick. But Marvin Harrison, in fact, I might even try to move up to number 1 to get Marvin Harrison. Wow.
And he might go number 1 to the Bears, right? Because they got Justin Fields. Yep. And I mean, that could be exciting for them. Fields, DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison, you got yourself a nice little attack there.
Yeah. Because like the Patriots, they're the worst team in the division. And they got to get back in competing with the Packers and the Lions. Yep. And they need to do something. But so do the Patriots. You watching Peacock, Bob, on your side?
I'm just kind of checking on, the things that Mike checks on. I'm not watching. I'm not saying it. So don't try to goad me into it.
So before we go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, one thing Bob had mentioned before is Belichick and Dallas. And
you got to get into that today, because that's what everybody's talking about.
I was watching the game against the Packers, and I kept thinking to myself, everyone's talking about all the teams prior to that, where Belichick could land. Maybe it's Atlanta, but does he fit anywhere? And someone had mentioned to me that when Bill comes available, a coach of his caliber, you got to look at more than just the open jobs. Yeah. His availability will start making owners think, well, how secure is our coach if I can get Belichick? And to me, Dallas, I think we all had that thought.
Yep.
And to me, it's a no-brainer of all no-brainers if they move on from Mike McCarthy for both sides.
Right. We're not talking about a long-term relationship here. All you have to do is get along for 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
I mean, all Jerry Jones would take was 1 year. He wins it with Belichick in 1 year or 2 years.
Maybe that's the secret of marriages. You only have to do it for 1 year.
Yeah.
And then it's reset. Yes. Maybe that's really the answer we hit on. This is much more of a counseling show than a.
All right, so if you're Jerry Jones right now, Mike Reiss, and you're saying to yourself, okay, Mike McCarthy, 3 12-win seasons, nothing to show for it in the postseason. Do I roll the dice? I'm 81 years old. We haven't won a Super Bowl since the mid 1990s. We're supposed to be America's team and win a Super Bowl. Can Bill Belichick bring us to the promised land again? My thing is, I would go for it if I were Jerry Jones. I would say, sorry, Mike McCarthy, but we're gonna. This guy's available, and I want to go after him. And
this would create the nightmare. You talk about why can't we get players like that? What do you think that's going to come out? Why can't we get coaches like that? It's going to be the nightmare of New England. In fact, our behind-the-scenes staff put together this little show and tell photo opportunity. That there you go, right there.
Jerry Jones and Belichick, huh?
Yeah, right. And Jim Nance, of course. There, that's right. Nightmare, New England nightmare. But hey, look, if we're going to all agree marriage is for 1 year, I'll give it a shot again.
I'm with you, Lynchy. I think that's a for Jerry Jones, like, who loves headlines, attention. Like, can you imagine Bill Belichick in Dallas? And I mean, for the next 8 months before, the first game. I mean, and just for that alone, for what Jerry Jones, like
Absolutely.
His marketing and man, to me, it makes all the sense in the world.
Does he bring Josh down there?
I think he probably would, Lobie. And I actually think that to me is interesting because I think Josh compliments Bill better than anyone. And, it's my view that this thing here in New England was actually going okay in 2021 when, they were 10-7, and it wasn't perfect, but they were in the playoffs. They got blown out by the Bills. But I thought Josh's ability to handle the offense and Bill giving him the latitude to do it helped Bill as a coach. And I thought some weaknesses and not weaknesses in Bill, but I think losing Josh forced Bill Belichick to get involved in the offense the last couple of years. And I think we saw that didn't always go so great.
It just feels like him going to Atlanta or any of the other opportunities other than LA just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't have the fit that this seems to have, right?
Dallas. You can do down in Dallas, Bob. Like you saw Jerry Jones, see the crowd waiting for Jerry Jones after the game yesterday afternoon. It was bigger than the crowd that was probably in the media room. And I get an idea. You can sell that on Peacock every day, the press conferences.
Well,
Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick.
All of a sudden, the fifth quarter is not as valuable here as it used to be. And it certainly would be more valuable in Dallas. Just,
Sort of like when Tom went down to Tampa, right, in 2020. And a lot of fans were interested in
conference. You know that how those fifth quarter started? It all started with Parcells.
Yeah, tell me about that.
No, we just did it. We said we had Parcells. We got to put him on the air as much as possible, and the only other way was doing televising the post game press conferences, and we did it. And I remember one time we did it on Channel 38 sometimes when the double headers didn't work out, and the first game was on Channel 4, and whenever we had to put it on 38. I can remember one time a game on Channel 4 was going longer than usual, and our airtime to start on 38. So the fifth quarter actually started before the fourth quarter ended. I swear.
Wow.
It happened. It actually had and then you had to go on, well, it's the fifth quarter, but we're on before the fourth quarter's ended.
And they let you put it on without, it's not like a rights agreement or anything like that?
No, we were underneath the stadium in the media room, and it was our video. And
it was the weight room.
Yeah, whatever.
Stand among barbells and bench press things, and we'd get like one game, maybe 2 Monday night games a year, and then when we did it was called the fifth quarter. We did it too, and we didn't have to pay any rights. And then they realized they could make some money on this thing, and then Channel 4 obviously carried the majority of the games.
Right.
And then that's how it happened. But at least 1, maybe 2 years, we got away with just doing it. Wow. And we used to sell it ourselves and make the money. And then, of course, it didn't take the Crafts long to figure out, that this is the way it should be done. But it was a free for all. And Parcells, like, he got into it with some kid asked. They played the Jets, and Pete Carroll was coaching the Jets. And then he asked Parcells, "Do you think you all coached Pete Carroll?" And Parcells goes, "That's a dumbass question. That's a dumbass question.
Never forget that."
Like that again. And that was great television. And I think that's when everybody, particularly Channel 4,
except for the kid from Pawtucket that asked the question.
I know Bill. He did apologize to him, but I think everyone realized this is great television. This is actually more interesting than the game. Yes. And we got to do more of this. And then you guys, grabbed the ball, and you guys got the rights to it, and then the rest is history. And Mike Reiss, by the way, is a star on the fifth quarter. No.
Well, you know what, Mike? You gotta wait and get through all the other guys, get through Andrews and all the rest of them, and they're all good. Who I really like was Wise.
You like Dietrich, yeah?
I just like he had an edge to him. He always was really good. But on the other hand, everybody's waiting for Belichick.
Yep.
And they know what they're going to get. They just waited. You know what it was like. And of course, I don't think Lynch. I don't know. Maybe Lynchy would ask a lot of questions, but I'm not interested in asking a lot of questions and being publicly embarrassed like that.
And that's the part that is, I want to say, maybe over the last decade that's been interesting to me is it's basically an open window for everyone to watch you do your job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right? And I always felt like a responsibility to the fans. Like, you got to ask the question that they would ask because they're the paying customer and you represent them with that media credential. And it was hard, Lynchy, because I knew I was asking a question that I might get my head bit off.
Yeah.
We love you. We love you because we just brought the circus to town. You were the main act.
A pawn in the game.
I'm sorry, but if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have the circus there. So
I hear you ask a question. Mike's going to ask the question, and it's going to be a good, legitimate question. I know he's dying inside that he has to ask this question, but he has to ask it because nobody else will. And you're to be commended for that. And, sometimes Bill would give you the death stare as you're asking the question, and you could say, okay. But just the way he's looking at you, you know what the response is going to be.
Mike, how would you characterize your relationship with him? How would you characterize your relationship with him as a person? I know maybe it's hard to divorce the coach media thing, but you speak football. He speaks football. That's about the similar conversation. But how would you characterize your relationship with him?
So, like football-wise, professional, but I would say personally, like at an arm's length, which is more his choice, right? And I think that's just the way he prefers it, and I always respected that.
I agree. I feel the exact same way, Mike. I don't know how many years I did the show with him, maybe 10 years. And, when he would come in before the lights would go on, we would talk about our daughters, whether we're going on spring break. And then the Andover Exeter game, and then once the lights went on, it was strictly well, you have to ask the referees about that.
Yeah, but you guys had not only a football connection. His father was a coach. Your father was a coach. You played for Harvard. He played, for Wesleyan or wherever he went. I'm just saying, you guys have
more Exeter and Andover.
Oh yeah, right. For whatever.
In Andover, I played a year.
God, you guys are prep schools. That's right. When you're in Ohio, you don't have prep schools in Ohio, but you do.
No, but
Mike
hit the nail on the head.
Mike Reiss, did you go to prep school?
I did not.
No, I didn't either. I mean, did that hold us back? That didn't hold us back. I have to do a commercial here, Mike, and Mike,
Yes.
and the other Mike's going to ask you a question. I have another great question. I think it's a great question, but I'll wait till after that. This is about camping, so get ready for the 2024 season, which is here right now, with a new RV, recreational vehicle. In case you don't know, not Reserve Victor. Cold Springs RV is the latest in pop-ups and travel trailers and fifth wheelers, motor homes. When you need an RV or service on an RV, get to Cold Springs RV. So you say, okay, I'll go to Cold Springs RV. Where are they? It's exactly where they are. And Ware, New Hampshire.
Where?
Weare, Ware, New Hampshire, which is west of Goffstown and north of Drake somewhere. So go check out the all-new Winnebago Access travel trailers now on their lot. Heading south in a new Winnebago. Is there any bigger dream than that? With who picked Taylor Swift to go with him? Oh no, Borges picked Raquel Welch. Who did pick? You picked Taylor Swift.
Upton picked.
Upton picked, right? That's going to happen. Don't forget to tell them Lobel and Lynch sent you. Learn more at coldspringsrv.com. It's possible we've asked you this question before, Mike, but let's pretend we'll have to come up with a different answer now.
All right, so we all know John Madden had the Madden Cruiser.
Yep.
So we're going to get Cold Springs RV to build a Lobel Cruiser.
Yes.
And once it's built, it's still in production stages, but we promised it to every guest on the show. You get to drive it cross country. We'll fly you back, but you have to take one person with you: male, female, alive, deceased, past, present, sports, entertainment, politics, to ride cross country, to have a conversation with. So who would you pick to ride shotgun with you going cross country?
So many great choices. I think I'll share with you one of the things I love to do is go to live music concerts. So I think that's the first place my mind went. And I do love, like, Bruce Springsteen. He's given me so many great memories over the years. So he's the first one that came to my mind. I have to be honest with you. I mean, I probably should pick someone that, maybe like
no, not necessarily. No, don't be honest with us. This is what you want. Springsteen, what you want, that's what you got.
I mean, because I'm closing my eyes and I'm envisioning being in the Lobel Cruiser, and like he pulls out his guitar.
Yeah, but Stevie Van Sant could join you in Kansas City.
Wait, we got enough room, right? Like, come on in.
Right.
And he just starts playing. Like, to me, that would be like perfection.
There you go.
A deadhead?
Great answer.
Not a deadhead.
I don't see you running around in a Volkswagen. Okay, well, good answer.
I don't know how good it is, but it's true to me, So
absolutely.
I want to ask our people behind the scenes to get ready to find the trailer for the upcoming Patriot documentary that's going to be dropped on Apple Plus. Just want to drop that in a second. But before we do that, I want to ask you about Jonathan Kraft. First of all, he was very noticeable by his absence on Wednesday, because we all said, hey, Jonathan, Robert, and Bill are going to get together in a room and hash this out. Well, only two of them came out. The only one that was still in the room is Jonathan. Why was he not, in your opinion, part of the two of them? And talked about as a trio. All of a sudden, he wasn't.
Yeah, my hunch would be that it probably was reflective of relations between him and Bill Belichick, and that this was always like Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft had their connection, and it was partially possibly just paying respect to that and letting that be like, hey, it's between you two. And then the other part, which is, I mean, look, guys, I don't think it's like any secret. Like I don't think Jonathan was always crazy with the way Bill treated his dad. Like couldn't have been easy for him to see at times. You know, like we talk about like how Bill acts with us in the media. Like, I mean, sometimes he did that with the owner, you know, who was paying him a lot of money. Like, and if you're watching your dad get treated like that, like, I mean, I don't think that's the easiest thing. And so that's probably my most honest, sensitive answer to the dynamics
And that was great.
I believe are in play, you know?
I really appreciate that insight because it's one thing I never really considered, but obviously should have put at the top of the list of watching him handle Bob and the way he treated him. You're right. He was rude to Kraft. He was rude to his owner. He was dismissive of his owner. And that can't be easy. And I guess Jonathan got what he wanted. Belichick gone. So he didn't have to go through this anymore. But so much for that's really very insightful. So thank you for going there. Yeah, and in fairness to Bill, like I think it wasn't all the time, but you know, I think Bill and Robert, like they had their ups and downs, right? Like, and I like what Robert Kraft says. 1 year marriage. I'm telling you, it's going to work.
There you go. So
why don't you propose that, Bob?
I'll bring it up the next time I
call Governor Healy up and ask her if she could propose that to see how that will go over. Probably not that well. So the Krafts have, quote unquote, reclaimed the team. Are we going to see now the Robert Kraft we saw during the Bill Parcells era, the one that hadn't learned to sort of stand back, to probably meddle too much, and to his own admission, he admits that. Are we going to see that back in with Jonathan now? Or are we going to see we're never going to see the way it was with Bill? Because, I mean, Robert needed Bill, and he put up with a lot of the indignities.
Yeah.
Because he knows he needed Bill. But the last 3 to 4 years, he needed him less and less and less. Thus, he was dismissed. Now, are we going to see an owner that has become, for lack of a better word, more meddlesome than he was before?
So I don't think so. I think what I'm curious about Wednesday when they introduce Gerard Mayo is, do they, like, Robert's 82, like, and I think I give him a lot of credit for standing up there and answering questions in a press conference last week. And I compare that to like the Tennessee Titans owner after firing Mike Vrabel. She did a one-on-one with the team website. Like, do you think she got hard questions and that one, you know, like, so give Robert credit, but at 82, like, I mean, my goodness, I hope I can do that at 82. Like that's, so I think I'm curious. What I'm trying to say is I'm curious to see if Jonathan takes on a more public-facing role as the primary voice of ownership.
What do you think?
It would make sense, Lobel, because Robert's 82, right? And so I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's one thing I'm curious about. But to answer the question is, I do think ownership's going to be more, I don't want to say more involved, but like when you take Bill out of it, I mean, literally every decision went through Bill.
So they reclaimed the team, as Mike said.
Yeah.
Or this is part of reclaiming the team, being upfront, being out there more.
And I look at it like the Cowboys as an example. Like you see Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones in the draft room, and they're involved and they're part of it. I don't know if they're making the decisions, but they rely on smart people to guide them. And then they're like, that to me is probably the model that I think we're headed towards. And I look at it that way, less of a meddlesome and more of a, like, it is their team. And like they, you know, we'll see if it works.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
No, it's an excellent point.
Did you see the, go ahead, I might.
No, I was going to say that the press conferences were practically streamed over Peacock Club.
Look at him.
I heard something, but I didn't really think.
Yes.
Did you see the trailer for the Dynasty?
I I did.
Well, I love this trailer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really interesting teasing things in this trailer. And I'd like to get your opinion about some of them. Is it all right, Lynch, if I play it?
You might play it, Bob. Sure.
Okay.
It's not on Peacock.
This team will be scrutinized, celebrated for as long as the game is played.
In pro football, nobody's entitled to anything. You have to go out there and earn it.
I was pretty intent on proving myself.
We were going to determine the future of football in New England.
The Patriots are Super Bowl champions!
First dynasty of the century.
This game is like a narcotic. You're chasing that forever.
Breaking news right now.
Spygate, Deflategate.
Aaron couldn't separate himself from that dark side.
That team won enough to become the villain.
We worked for Bill, but we played for Tom.
Bill tore Brady's head completely off.
There's things that are done that can't be undone.
I was just trying to hold it together the best I could.
This team will be scrutinized, celebrated for as long as the game of football is played.
I love it. I can't wait for it to come out. And there's some really, if they're called teases, they work because you're teased. Mike Lynchy, what quotes? Well, let me ask Mike Reiss first. What quotes? What sections of that trailer stand out for you more than others? In other words, what questions does it raise more than answers that it gives?
Well, the first thing it did was made the hair on the back of my neck stand up a little bit.
Yeah, big.
Right? Maybe someone saw it and said to me, "Did you hear what Danny Amendola said?" And I said, "I did. That we worked for Bill, but we played for Tom." And I thought that was sort of an interesting perspective. And I'm not a huge is it Tom or is it Bill? Because I think it was both of them. But that perspective was interesting to me in the trailer there. But honestly, guys, I thought all of it was in that 1 minute or however long it was. They packed a lot in there to make you want to see it, didn't they?
Yeah,
packed a lot. Even Garofalo, even a picture of 1 second shot of Garofalo versus 30 seconds worth of video. I mean, when Kraft said I was just trying to hold it together, what do you think he was referring to? The Bill and Brady relationship?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's my only question is, were these when do you get Bill to pose for a camera like that? Was it back in 2019? I mean, some of those interviews. So are they dated right now? I don't know. We're going to have Jeff Benedict on in a couple of weeks, and we'll ask him those questions then. But that's my question. I mean,
that video's in the public domain, Mike. I don't think he posed for that.
Well, he did. He sat down in a chair. And,
I know, but I don't think that was.
But it wasn't recently. It wasn't recently.
I'm gonna guess it was last off season. It wouldn't be during the season, right? So probably one recent off season would be my guess. This past one or the one before, would be my likely thought.
What about the trail of cheating? What about the Shula calling them Bella cheat? What about the Deflategate, the Mangini?
Yeah.
Video and where was it? Cincinnati or wherever this.
Yep.
Sideline, yeah.
But then there was some stuff from the press box, wasn't there?
That was Cincinnati.
Dave Martillo fired, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was totally separate from the football side, And I think that was an honest. I mean, I would say I truly believe it was honest mistake from totally different department than.
Yes, I agree with you. There's no reason that he should have been fired whatsoever.
But I do think when you talk about the Patriots and that era, obviously those have to be part of the story, right? You can't overlook them. So I think people have opinions on how significant it was, and I do, but it is part of the history, so you can't tell the story without it.
But it's really, you wouldn't want to change it for anything, right? You wouldn't. I don't think. I mean, it was a fascinating part of our lives. It was fascinating to see that video because I wouldn't want to change it for anything.
Agree.
Even Vinatieri. I mean, I think Vinatieri has been buried somewhere in the old stadium with his last kick. I think it was such a huge part of the formation of this dynasty that, I know the India could have Colts and all that bullshit, but Vinatieri was great.
Yes.
And so was Gostkowski.
Yep.
Trivia name, a guy who's the guy between Vinatieri and Folk. Gostkowski. Where have you gone? I'm just.
Speaking of which, we have new kickers next year, Mike.
Lynchy,
Why, you want to try out with your square toe?
Yeah.
Watch this. Watch this. This is impressive.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah,
I love it.
Right, set it on fire.
Lynchy, I would think they got to bring someone in to at least have as an option there, right? Like, so Chad Ryland, drafted him in the 4th round, bring him to camp, but you got to bring another guy to camp to protect yourself because you can't go through a season like you did this year with what he did.
How about the guy in Dallas? Is he the most unbelievable kicker you've ever? Everything no, was he perfect until he missed one yesterday, but he could kick them through popsicle sticks.
Yeah,
I mean everything is right down the middle.
Yeah,
and he never played football in his life. He played soccer, at Notre Dame, right?
And wasn't drafted. Like our guy, Chad Ryland was a 4th round pick. They traded up for us, so sort of see the difference there. And I will say probably Brandon Aubrey is the name, is probably helped by half his games indoors, so that's probably a fair thing to mention. But still, like, you still got to make them. He makes them all.
Mike, if ESPN turned to you and said, "All right, you've done a great job with pro football, and we know that's your first love, but we want you to cover the Red Sox," what would that mean to you?
Oh man, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do it, guys. I don't think I could do it.
I think they might have some of the games on Peacock.
I am so tempted. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take my middle finger down.
I love it. I don't. Why I don't think I could do it is the 162.
Yeah, I agree.
There's so many of them, and so we have 14-year-old daughter at home, 11-year-old son, and I don't think I could give it up. I think I would say thank you so much for thinking of me as worthy of the opportunity, but is there anything else? Like that would be a tough one for me.
Speaking of that, how is your job? I think I know the answer to this, but I think how is your job going to be altered now that Bill Belichick is not around? What's going to be different for you?
That's great, Lynchy. I was thinking that I was joking the other day. Who is it with? That I might actually ask a question and like the coach might like give an answer. Like we were joking about it, like, oh, that's how it works, and I say it with a little humor, right? But I think, how will it be different? I think like fundamentally it's the same. You have the same media access, but I think there might be more of a two-way dialogue than a one-way dialogue. I think that'll be the biggest difference to me. So like, I'll give you an example, Lynchy, like, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but to me, the beat used to be so conducive to good family life. We used to, and I think you remember this, we used to go down there and do like news conference at 10:30, go into the locker room, call it 10:45, and then go to practice 12, and then would be done with our access. So you might stay and work, or you might go home and work. and you were around for, now, like we would have Bill after a game, and then the next morning we'd have Bill at 8:00 in the morning. And I felt like it wasn't really done in a way that, like, does this work for you as a reporter? Or, because usually you like to rewatch the game so you can ask questions that can further the conversation and further the dialogue. And so my hope is, like, maybe with a new coach, there's more of a aspect of, okay, like, this is what's important to me as the coach. Tell us what's important to you as a reporter, and let's see if we can come to some middle ground. Does that make sense? Like how it would be different?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, some days it'll be 9:30, some days it'll be 5:00 in the afternoon, and some days it'll be 2:00, or some days it'll be 7:30 in the morning.
Right.
And it just didn't make any sense. But when you're the king, you make the rules.
That's right.
And
That's right.
you're winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl, you make the rules.
That's right.
And as long as that money machine, it keeps cranking away and cranking away.
Yep.
That's the way you got it.
That's right.
After these games this weekend, and we're taping this on Monday, so we have a couple of games yet to be played. But your choices changed for the eventual outcome of this tournament?
So for me, Bob, like, I really try to study it if I'm going to make a prediction, and I have to be honest with you, I haven't studied it that close. I think San Francisco going to be tough to beat, so I would probably stick with them on the NFC side. On the AFC side, I've sort of been open. I haven't seen a lot of Baltimore, so it's hard for me to know. Kansas City, I've watched a lot of, and it's hard for me to pick against the champs. I don't think they're as powerful, but they do sort of remind me of, like, Patriots championship teams that maybe weren't as loaded as maybe some of their past teams, but they have that metal to them. So I'm wide open in the AFC, and I lean San Francisco in the NFC.
Won't take up too much of your time. Are you pleased or displeased that Taylor Swift has become such a central figure in the Chiefs' run, and also in the interest of non-football fans, especially young girls? It's really been something. Some people are really put off by it. Some people are welcoming it.
I love it, Lynchy.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Anyone that shines a light on football, I love the game. And I, now, again, not totally naive here, like, maybe there's some, I don't know, like, her getting involved in it. Maybe there's helps bring her fans, and, so there's maybe some aspect to that I should acknowledge, like, there might be something there. But I actually think she really, like, enjoys it.
Yeah.
And, like, that she's discovered the game, and it's almost like, where has this been all my life? That speaks to me.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with having a little fun?
Right.
Like, where did we get away from the idea that, like, sports is still fun? Yeah. I know there's Peacock, and I know it's business movie. I get it. I know. But let's have a little fun. And she's having fun. Yeah. And I'll take it. I like it. Do you agree or disagree, Lobel?
I totally agree.
Oh, good.
I'm fascinated by her. I'm fascinated by the fans.
Yes.
Around her. I'm fascinated by her relationship with Travis Kelce's mother, and
yes,
what do they talk about, and what do they? It's just, to me, it's just fascinating.
Yes,
because want to get her on the podcast, Bob?
Yeah, that's a good shot. Who do we want to cancel? Let's cancel Kraft and put her on. Okay.
By the way, Upton Bell picked his partner to ride cross country. He picked Taylor Swift.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what was his reason?
Because Springsteen wasn't available. He was with you.
Let me get one last spot before we say goodbye to you, Mike.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about a new vehicle, go where Lobel and Lynchy go. Go see our friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. We've been customers for years because we know George Gray and his family will treat you right. They're a family-owned and operated dealership that we trust and you can trust as well. So go see the big wheel himself, George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. George Gray loves the Patriots. He loves Taylor Swift. He loves Peacock, by the way, too, Bob. I understand that's on his playlist. Peacock.
I'm sure it is.
What, do you think Peacock will carry this podcast?
I think they're looking for content, good content.
Yeah,
they couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford it. Yeah.
Mike, this has been great as always. You do an unbelievable job. The only one prouder than us is your dad, and he's please give our best to him. He was great to me when I was breaking into the business. He was always there, offering advice when I asked questions, and he was one of the all-time greats.
You guys are awesome, and I know I told
my
you
son
this
on television.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
Roy.
right. That's right. That's right. You got to have dad in your corner. You know?
Absolutely.
I know exactly where it was. It was at this restaurant in the Framingham Shopping Center. I know exactly where it happened, where I saw Roy at that time.
That's awesome.
Anyway,
you guys are awesome.
Thank you so much. Now you can get back to work and stop this foolishness.
All right, you guys are great.
Bye, Mike. Bye, Roby. And make sure you follow us on UnAnchoredBoston.com.